Well, I want to thank everybody for inviting me here. My voice is a little raspy because I've been doing a lot of talking, so you'll have to excuse me. My name is Denise Liite. I am a candidate for Santa Clarita City Council. I recognize some people in this room from attending city council meetings. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my history, where I come from, what I'm about, and what I would like to do as a candidate. I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, went to Notre Dame High School for my high school education. I was primarily raised by my dad when my mom died of breast cancer when I was 10 years old. And from high school, I went to Cal State Northridge, where I graduated with a liberal arts degree. I was going to be a teacher. I was on path to be a credentialed candidate, and I decided to go to law school instead. So when I graduated from CSUN, I went to Southwestern University of Law, graduated in 1996, and started working for myself when I graduated. Primarily, when I first started practicing law, I represented Fortune 500 companies. We were mostly fighting over company money. And about 6 or 7 years into my legal career, I didn't find it very fulfilling, that work. So I transitioned into representing families reconfigure themselves, and I started practicing family law. I've been a lawyer for 26 years now. I'm a lawyer in good standing with the California State Bar. And I also hold a certified specialist credential in the field of family law. Owning my own law firm for the last 26 years has been exciting. As every small business owner knows, there's ups and downs, and you do everything from taking out the trash to doing the legal matters, and our firm has grown. We have offices in Woodland Hills, Valencia, and Las Vegas, and I'm very proud of the work we do, and I find helping families to be very, very rewarding. I have never really been super involved in politics. I always paid attention to our presidential candidates. I always wanted to know who I was voting for president and what they were about. And it wasn't until I would say the last 5 to 7 years when I really started hearing things that I just thought, wow, am I really hearing stuff like this? So I kind of just started paying attention a little bit more, and maybe some of you are better than me, but I can honestly admit that I never really paid attention to school board or water board elections until the last 5 years. Didn't understand what it was about, how you voted, the districts, the areas. And I think, fortunately or unfortunately, COVID has opened a lot of people's eyes to how important school board and local elections are. When people ask me why I'm running for office, I say to them, Washington's great, it gets all the attention, it gets all the news, but there is nothing that will impact your day-to-day life more than local politics, city council, school board, water board. So it wasn't until about 4 years ago I decided that it's fine to complain about things, but you have to actually do something if you want to complain. So I decided to volunteer for a congressional candidate. I volunteered for Mike Garcia. And I found that the people that I was working alongside, the other people, to be extremely passionate, extremely dedicated, firmly believing in their causes, and their desire to help was truly inspirational. So I really, really enjoyed that experience. And along the way, I was doing my own investigation and observing of politics, and I started saying things on social media like, wow, are we really a country that wants to defund the police? Wow, are we really a country that, whatever the news of the moment was? And I was saying things, and people would say to me, wow, you have a pretty strong voice, you're not afraid to use it, you should run for office. And I was like, no, I have a full-time law firm. I don't need to get involved. It'll take care of itself. And I saw that it wasn't taking care of itself, and things had I hoped would be getting better didn't seem to be getting better. It seemed to be getting worse. And my personal observation is that we started devolving as a country when we started replacing facts with feelings. And so I just kind of put off to the side, no, I don't want to run for politics, and it just kept come up, run for office, do something. And little seeds were planted along the way. And it wasn't until last summer It was a Thursday afternoon. It was 2 o'clock. I pulled into the parking lot at Target on McBean, where there's an Ulta store, and something told me to not go in there, and that's because that store had been robbed 3 times in one day recently. It smash and grab robberies, and I thought, okay, I got to do something. Did the timer go off? No. Oh, I don't see it, so I'm sorry.
It's not on your screen?
No, it's not. Well, I'll just keep carrying on. So really, I feel like I didn't pick politics. Politics kind of picked me. That was my moment where I thought, wow, if I feel unsafe in the city of Valencia on a Thursday at 2 o'clock, I need to do something. So I decided to investigate which types of races I wanted to run. I decided I was going to run for city council, and here I am. I announced my candidacy in October. And there's several key issues that I would like to, that I am going to focus on. I would like to, is that hurry up? Okay. I want the city to reassess getting our own public health safety officer. I want the city to reassess having our own prosecutor to prosecute crimes in the city. We have very large lawsuits that are coming newly to fruition with CMEX and Burmite, with those local decisions, and I think it would help to have somebody with legal training and a legal mind on the city council. Homelessness is an exacerbated problem. It's a nonpartisan issue. We all care about the homeless. We have to work better to address that. And finally, I kind of feel like Canyon Country residents feel like they're not treated equally in Valencia as Valencia residents. I've heard that, and I know that the residents out here feel that way. So I'd like to make them feel better about that and do something more about that. So is my time up? Okay, so that's my intro.
Well, thank you very much. I'm surprised. It isn't the...
No, it says input not supported on the screen right here.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's great. Okay. Well, all right. So it's time for questions and answers. Is someone up to the microphone, Elaine?
My name's Elaine. It's kind of interesting that you said you wanted to bring change to the city council. How do you see you would bring change other than lowering the average age? And what they're doing as far as the round table, how they changed the ordinance for Ken, that you now need 4 people to, if you want to fire him, so can't fire Ken. But I was curious to know how you feel about the issues that seem to be very important to people, yet the round table is limited to certain people and it's limited to race, gender, and religion.
So thank you for the question. I've been at many city council meetings, and I know that the Human Relations Roundtable is a very hot topic. To me, I don't know why those meetings aren't open to the public. I don't know why anybody cannot go. To me, anytime there's action in government behind closed doors, people have an automatic suspicion about it, and that's just totally unnecessary. It creates unnecessary drama and distrust of government. If there are certain, I don't know, safety reasons or special reasons why meetings should be conducted in private, okay, but I think generally speaking, full and open transparency on all types of government meetings help the public have confidence in what's going on. So I do know that the roundtable is a source of contention, and I do know that people say that it's supposed to be an entity of inclusion, but when you exclude certain people, then it's not an entity of inclusion. And I realize that that's the point, and I agree.
To clarify that, Ken did open up the meetings. However, we are not allowed to speak. And we're not allowed to ask questions, and we're treated as if we're second-class citizens. We're very demeaned. She treats us very condescendingly, and they will either whisper, turn their backs like this, or write notes, so that we're very much excluded. It's like you might as well have a wall or a petition, like you're a prisoner.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody else with another question? Go ahead.
Welcome.
Hi.
Who are your political influences, past, present, and why?
political influences. Like I said, never really was completely political before in the last 5 years. I admire strong leaders. I admire Condoleezza Rice. I think she was a trailblazer in her time. I admire the speeches and the writings of Ronald Reagan. It's hard to give a complete list. I think there's good qualities in lots of political leaders. To say that any one was an influence, I think all leaders have good traits. So to name one as being a complete political influence other than the two I've mentioned, I think there's good accomplishments on many levels for many people.
Someone else? Do we have another question? Come on up. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We don't charge.
First of all, thanks for being here today, and thanks for running for office.
Thank you.
I didn't get much about your personal background as far as how long you've been in Santa Clarita.
There.
I caught the San Fernando Valley part. And how does family law, what do you think your experiences from that much family law will bring to your city council candidacy? If you know Santa Clarita, Antelope Valley, every night, domestic problems, there's family issues, and it's really an issue not only throughout the country, but very specific. It's kind of a little bit of a hidden secret here. So, thanks.
Thank you. That's a great question. I've lived in Santa Clarita for 13 years. I moved out here to live with my then boyfriend, now husband, John Light. We have 2 sons, Toby and Hunter. Hunter's 23 years old, graduated from San Diego State. Toby is a baseball player, a junior at Saugus High School. So we're very deeply involved in the community. I've been a member of Seroptimist International Valencia for 8 years. I chair their #1 fundraiser for breast cancer research. So I hope that gives you a little bit of idea about my involvement in the community. As far as what family law brings to the table, I have to know a lot about a lot of things. I have to know a lot about people's investments, real estate transactions, finances, child development. I know a lot about tax. I know a lot about a lot of topics. I've passed the Certified Family Law Specialist exam, which is extremely difficult. And I also have to learn to think about solutions that work for everybody to bring people to a settlement. And so listening, sometimes more than talking, is a key ingredient to that, because I have to try and bring people together where a settlement can be reached. If not, we go to a very expensive trial. So collaboratively working with counterparts, even though they're on the other side of the case, is very important. I'm also a mediator, and so bringing people together and having everybody give a little on each side to come to a resolution, I think, is a very strong suit that will lend to the city council.
Another question, anyone? Come on up. We'd love to have you ask a question.
Hi, my name is Tish, and there's a lot of different ethnic backgrounds here in Santa Clarita, and there is always a little bit of a tension on both sides, whether it's over on the other side of Valencia or Canyon Country. How do you think we could actually get along to make that tension not so hard?
I think so many times people's anger or hostility or frustration comes from not being heard. You know, most people in their life, even in the most complex of cases that I have, if you just let people be heard, they feel a lot better about the situation. They feel that whatever was on their heart and mind will be at least considered. And so I think, having an open dialogue and listening to people will help draw down tensions. It's very easy to just yell and throw barbs at people and run away, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't bring people together. So, I've learned in 26 years of legal practice that, you got to let people be fully heard. And hopefully that will bring them together so that they can now have a dialogue amongst each other to bring people together. I think that's the first start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Elaine.
I don't think you completely answered. How do you see you could change the outcome or the makeup of the city council? What would you bring to it, and how would you like to see it changed?
Well, I don't know that I can change the makeup of the city council. I'm just one person. It's a body of 5. Like I said, what I bring to the table is solution finding, having people be heard. There's lots of issues that I think need to be addressed. For example, several years ago, we said we were going to be a city I think it's called I'm forgetting the exact name, but an aging-friendly city. I've heard you talk about the lack of transportation in the evenings for senior citizens or people who can't drive at night or whatever. Those are things that need to be addressed. We have a large senior population out here, and they need to be included and feel like they are part of the community. So can I radically change the city council? No, but I can bring voice to people who feel like their concerns aren't being heard. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but it's more of, do you feel that you should be answering the people when they get up to speak at public participation, when Ken will just ignore many of the issues and people are voicing their opinions but are getting no response?
Well,
and it's addressed to the city council.
The city council has norms and procedures. I can see why they don't, because if there's, I don't know, I've been at meetings where there's 200 people. If there's a dialogue back and forth with every single speaker, the meetings will go on for 24 hours, So there's norms and procedures. I think there's reasons why there's not a back and forth dialogue. It's not an argument. It's there for people to be heard and the council to take that into consideration. But I don't know that there should be a back and forth dialogue from the dais with every single resident. I don't know that that's productive.
No, but
either.
if it's not answered, they can speak, but then Ken will just ignore many of the problems or situations, and no one from the dais.
Yeah, I think the question that Elaine is trying to ask is, do you believe that when people come up in public participation and raise an issue, they deserve some kind of an answer from either the city manager or some of the council?
At some point, I don't know that they can answer on the spot. Maybe it has to be investigated. Maybe research has to be done. Maybe other factors have to be in consideration. But I don't think people should be left hanging if that's the answer.
Yeah, that's the answer. That's what we are.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? No? What's your position on density in the city?
On what?
Density?
In terms of what? In terms of COVID restrictions?
Well,
in
no,
terms
just
of housing? In terms of?
In terms of the increasing density and traffic that it creates in the city.
The density that's happening now was decided upon 20, 25 years ago when plans were created and approved. It is becoming more and more dense here. The traffic's increasing. There's no doubt about that. The pollutants into the air are increasing because of the traffic. So what's happening now is really a function of what plans were approved 20 or 25 years ago. But we do need to moderate it. We can't, at some point, we can't be living on top of each other. I know some would argue that we are now. But yeah, you want to preserve, people moved out to Santa Clarita to have nice open space, to have, the houses and the yards that they want to. And unfortunately with, regulations from Sacramento and water and all kinds of those things, density is likely to increase. That's okay.
What would you say are some of the biggest economic opportunities that the current city council has failed to recognize over the past few years?
The city has the ability to offer incentives and programs to bring new business in, and I'm not sure that they are fully maximizing those incentives. We see large opportunities when the studios, do work here. They give tax credits. What they have specifically missed, I can't really comment on because I haven't been sitting there for 4 or 5 years. But I do know that there are incentive plans. For example, we have lots of available retail space here. Are they fully offering a establishment, hey, come here, we'll give you X amount of dollars credit until you reach X amount of sales, and then once you reach those sales, that credit is extinguished or paid back, or what, there's credits and things that can happen. But we have lots of, the mall is really kind of, it's kind of dying. That's not the city's fault per se. You know, it's up on the block for sale and it's in transition, but there are things that the city can do financially to try and get business development out here. And I think they're doing it as best that they can.
More question? Go ahead, Elaine.
I'll just stay here. I think basically, how do you feel about the roundtable? Do you think it should be closed? Do you think it should be altered? Or what do you see if you were on city council?
I think it's just another vehicle, another way to, going back to what I said, I think that's another way for people to feel heard.
Nobody's heard except them.
Well, like I said, it should be open to the public. You know, I've never been to a roundtable meeting.
There's a meeting on the 22nd if you want to go at 5 o'clock.
You know, if you don't feel heard, that's a problem. If you don't feel responded to, that's a problem. You know, do I want it disbanded? I don't think so, but maybe it needs to be revamped so people feel heard and felt and seen. Because there are different opinions in this valley. There are different perspectives in this valley, and everybody should be heard. And I've heard some of the people at the meeting say, well, if you don't agree with this line of thinking, you are totally excluded from the process. Well, that's totally antithetical to the point of the roundtable, right? So that has to be fixed somehow.
What, do you believe that the council is the right size, or do you think maybe it should be expanded?
That's an interesting question. I think a group of 5 is good. I guess as the city continues to grow, that will have to be an issue that's looked at as more and more people come into play, so to speak. Do I think it should be expanded right now? No, I don't think so. I think 5 is a great number. You know, sometimes, you know, I've heard people say, oh, the Supreme Court should be expanded to 13 people, or the City Council should be expanded to 10 people. I don't know that more is better.
Well, let me ask you a different way. If expanding the City Council by 2 would bring Castaic and Stevenson Ranch into the city, would you favor it?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have an opinion on an elected mayor?
On what?
An
That's
elected
my question.
mayor?
An elected mayor. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You know, people want to feel like they've voted and been a part of the process. Lots of cities vote for mayor. Lots of cities don't. Again, people want to feel a part of the process, so having a people elect a mayor is probably a good idea. I don't know that not doing it is a bad idea either.
Anybody else? Do we have another question?
Oh, okay.
Elaine,
Go.
you have another question? Oh, good. Surprise.
Which would kind of go to the districting. How do you feel about Santa Clarita going to districting? And I feel that there should be a mayor, because if you're not in our district, look at what's going on at the county supervisors.
Well, right.
And I think we need somebody who's responsible for everybody, and someone who's elected, not appointed like
Okay,
him.
well, all right. Better answer.
If you look at my writings, I wrote an op-ed in the Signal about what I felt about districting. And I included exactly what you said. If you look what's happening at the Board of Supervisors, they all jockey to have this favorable project or this undesirable project either in or out of their area. I like the idea of everybody rising together on the same boat, right? And that's what you get with an at-large election. We do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Not every single person is going to be satisfied with that approach, but we can try to do the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. So my personal belief is that at-large does that, and that districting pits council members against each other and creates, hey, give me this and I'll do this for you. It has the potential to do that. But that lawsuit was going to be a huge expense to the city, and I'm from a legal analysis, the chances of winning, the risks of being subjected to attorney's fees, I'm glad they settled it.
Okay.
Okay, but by settling it, I think it was more harmful to the people because we're going to be placed in the same situation as the county supervisors.
Elaine,
So I think
Elaine, ask a question, please.
Okay, so the question is, why shouldn't we fight for it, even though you think it's, I mean, the city has lost everything.
Because
that
the
they've
city would
ever
be
fought
bankrupted.
for.
The city could possibly be bankrupted by that lawsuit. There is a current lawsuit right now called PICO Homeowners Association versus the City of Santa Monica. It is the exact same lawsuit that would have been filed had we not settled. That case is now in front of the California Supreme Court. I've read all of the briefs in that case. The attorney's fees for the City of Santa Monica are in excess of $20 million right now, and they face the loss paying the plaintiff's attorney's fees plus the expert's fees, which are in the millions of dollars. If the California Supreme Court rules against the City of Santa Monica, they will be forced into involuntary bankruptcy, and that is not a great position for our city to be in. And so with that magnitude and risk of loss, it is my legal opinion that they did the right thing in settling it.
But if people are denied access or feel denied representation, can there be another lawsuit then?
Well, people can feel lots of things. We have 238,000 residents with 238,000 sets of feelings. Lots of people are going to feel differently about different things.
But if they can prove
I
it.
think we're up to 270,000 now, aren't we?
But if they can prove they're now
238-ish.
being denied.
Let me ask a question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Last question.
What are your views on term limits for the council?
Term limits, the easiest way to get term limits is to vote people out. You don't need to create legislation for term limits. If people really are unsatisfied with who their representative are, all they need to do is go out and vote. There are many high-quality people who serve a very long time in office. Do we necessarily want to get those people out? I don't think so, but the easiest way to accomplish term limits is to simply vote.
Okay, there you go. Could we have a 5-minute summation now?
Sure. I don't have a timer, though. I just want you to know.
I'll start it. I'll let you know about when it's time.
Okay. Santa Clarita is not the same city that it was in 1987. We've grown a lot. We've expanded a lot. We have a lot more diverse population coming into the city, and we can't use the same line of thinking that we did in 1987 that we do now. I have a lot of experience in a lot of areas of life. I've been exposed to a lot of things in litigation. We have the CMEX issue for you guys out here in Santa Clarita and Canyon Country is a very significant issue that I think deserves specific legal scrutiny. Yes, the city has their own attorney, but it can't hurt to collaborate and have extra set of eyes on it. We have current leaders sitting on the city council who have talked about stuff that they did 20 years ago. That's great, but what have you done lately? It took 13 years to get a community center out here in Canyon Country. That's a pretty long time to get stuff done. So I would like to see things be more efficient. I would like to see things be more inclusive for people to be heard. I bring common sense and common sensibility to conversations, and that's why people should elect me.